Friends, thank you for being here today. I think we're all still rather stunned by what's happened. I have these wonderful memories of Mom at the end of the driveway, exasperated, looking at the leaves coming down. And that wonderful lady who always had a kind word to say, and later I find out an interesting vocabulary with her daughters and grandkids. But we're here today to remember someone who made your life better. A person who was kind, who was strong, who was loving. And on behalf of Sarah and Lucy and the family, thank you for being here. And thank you for being a part of their lives and their mom and their grandma's life. I'd like to read a passage from the book of Psalms. And David asks the question, he says, God, who gets invited to dinner at your place? And how do I get in the guest list? God's response is this: walk straight, act right, tell the truth. Don't hurt your friend, don't blame your neighbor, despise despicable people. Keep your word even when it costs you, make an honest living, never take a bribe. You'll never get blacklisted if you live like this. If I was brave, I would have tried a Yorkshire accent with that. But that's very much like the north of England. You be a good person. You do the right thing. You keep your word even when it's hard. And that was Mom. That was Grandma. A good, kind, loving, hardworking person. And I'd like to ask you now to join me in a prayer of thanks. Lord, you give us many, many gifts. And it doesn't seem like too long ago you gave a mom and dad another beautiful daughter who grew into a wonderful, wonderful person. A loving, kind, and faithful wife. A mom who did nothing but adore her two daughters. A mother-in-law who loved her son-in-laws. Was there ever a grandmother who took more pride in her grandchildren? And we thank you for her gift as a friend, as a neighbor, as a sister, as an aunt, and as a wonderful person. And Lord, our life has been blessed to have her. So as we take a few minutes today to remember her, to remember the gift of her life, her love, her legacy, comfort our hearts. Amen. I'm going to invite the family to come up over the next little while to talk about Mom and Grandma. We're going to begin with Lucy.
First of all, I just want to thank everybody all the faces that are here today. She loved everybody. And thank you for everybody that came to support us as well. I don't even know where to begin when it comes to my mom. There just aren't enough ways to express my relationship with her. She was my best friend and my biggest cheerleader through everything. She was so many things. She was witty, kind, loyal to a fault, honest, caring, loving, sarcastic. Very, sometimes. She was strong, generous, and she gave the best hugs. I just used to come by just to get a hug. Nothing more. She was small but mighty. She was always the voice of reason, and she always just listened. And she was there whenever I needed her. And she always had the right words and encouragement for everybody that she met. We had so many inside jokes and movie quotes. Some that I won't say because you won't get, but we do. Things only we would understand. She was one of the most beautiful people that I know inside and out. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for all the little things that you did for us. She made the best lasagna and shepherd's pie ever. She'd just call and say, stop by, I've made you a dinner. Just to help me out. And the boys loved it too. And she was always there, just call her and just for a quick chat. It was about nothing. Nothing at all. Just want to say thank you for all the support she gave me, good and bad. Thank you for all the laughs and the tears. And thank you for always knowing just what to say. Thank you for all our road trips together. Time up north, I'm going to treasure those moments. Always, always. Every time I look at the sky, sunsets, birds. And thank you so much for being the best grandma to my boys. She really was. And most of all, just thank you for being who you are. I want you to know I will take good care of Molly, her little dog. I love her. Oh, and I put this in at the last minute, but last night I saw a commercial for Survivor. And I would always send her a text to remind her that, hey Mom, Survivor starts on Wednesday. And she would say, well, thanks for the reminder, I'll make sure my PVR's set. And we would talk about it every week. So I know that she'll be watching it with us. We have a really small family, but she was so proud of each and every one of us. And she loved us all wholeheartedly. She never wavered from that. She really was everything to me and to us. One of the last things she said, or texted to me, is, you are my guardian angel. It's one of the last things she said. And it turns out that she's mine. I miss you, I love you, and I'll be seeing you.
Lucy, you were so brave. Thank you for that really beautiful gift. I'm going to invite your sons to come up and stand together. And for some thoughts about Grandma.
Thank you all for being here today. I just wanted to speak. I just wanted to speak directly to my grandma. I just wanted to say that I just want to thank you for everything that you've ever done for me and everyone around me, and that you genuinely mean the world to me and my brother and my entire family. And you've done so much for me and my brother and everybody, and you've been so proud of me, and you've always been by my side through every single thing. And whenever I needed you, you were there. From just little things like going to the trailer or just spending a night at her house, drinking tea, because she always used to love that. She always used to have her biscuits with her tea, but those are the things that I love about her, and she showed me, and that I'm gonna miss her for, and I'm just gonna miss her with my entire heart. Because she was everything to me. And I just want to end it off by saying that she truly was the best grandmother in the entire world. And I know so many people loved her. And she will be very missed. And I love you so much, Grandma. Thank you, everyone, again.
Devin, Morgan, you can tell my grandma was so proud of you too. That you did her proud. Sometimes the music can convey things that we feel. And Mackenzie is a wonderful musician. And she has lots of songs that she has put together. And as we were talking the other night, I said, is there a song that makes sense for us to hear today? And one of her more recent songs that she sent to her grandma was called Something About a Classic. And thankfully, the text message back did not include the letters FFS. It included the words brilliant, wonderful. So we're going to hear that song now. And I want to encourage you to go to those happy memories with that wonderful lady. Her taking delight in her children. That laughter she got when you were trying to tell her a story, but you couldn't continue because she was laughing so hard, she got you laughing. The times where she just could not be more happy than everybody was coming to see her. When she was just so excited. The times that she and Phil were jive dancing, and you've never seen a couple look as happy to be in love and to be with each other. So as we listen to this song, let's remember this lady who just touched our lives so deeply.
No, it's okay.
Discover who your heart is undercover.
Thanks for sharing that, Mackenzie. And I'm going to invite Mackenzie and Olivia to come now and share some thoughts about their grandma.
Well, nobody noticed. That was a wrong song. It was the same song in the matching title, but it's okay. She still loved that one.
Still love that one.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I wanted to say. I just felt she was like so much more than a grandma. She was just like a best friend. And didn't matter how long I had to talk to her or whatever, I would just tell her, like she just knew. Like I didn't even have to explain, and she always just knew what was going on and what I needed to hear, and she just created such a safety. And no matter how many times I called her, I just wish I did it more. Because she's just the best person to talk to. Like, she just, if you're mad about something, she had nothing to do with it. She'd be like mad with you. She'd just be like, you're right. Like, and she just make you feel so good about everything. And I wish I could feel her soft skin again. And her hugs were just so like warm. Like you said, Lucy, like she just like nobody hugs like her. It was just like she filled every part of you that needed hugging. And she used to rub my feet, and I hate when people touch my feet. I hate it. And she'd be like, no, you need it. No, you need it. And even though it would hurt, it would just feel a little bit good. Just because grandma was doing it, it felt a little good. But I just, everything about her, it's just, she was almost not human. She was just like this like angel and this like, I don't know, it's just having her around, didn't matter what was happening in life, it just felt safe. And I wish, if I said I wish I called her more, she would say, "Let me smack your legs."
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, I don't think I have one memory of her being mad at me or making me feel like lesser. Like she was always just building you up, like no matter what. Even if you did something bad, she was like, she couldn't be mad at you. She was always on your side, and I knew I always had her on my side, and even if my parents were there, they're like, oh, well, Grandma said. So. But I don't know if I'll find a best friend like her again. I won't ever forget that I feel like she's still here with me, and even I was far from her my whole life. It just like never felt like I was far. Like, it just felt like she was close no matter what. Even if I hadn't spoken to her, it just felt like she was there, and she already knew all the things that were happening. And I would give anything to have one of her hugs, but it feels like she's here. And I know how many people she touched, and actually being here, it's like, it's weird because you don't realize how many people loved the person that you love that much. And you're just the best person. I love you, Grandma.
Wonderful. Did you want to-
I am the oldest of the grandkids, so I felt maybe I should go last to kind of, you know, hold us kind of together. I have some stuff written, but there's certain things I do want to say beforehand. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My grandma would be probably a little awkward being the center of attention, but she'd probably be very happy that everybody is here for her. Like we've all said, my grandma was the best friend. She was funny, she was like rude sometimes, but only to other people, never to you. In the best way, yeah. And she'd be really witty, and she was quick with stuff. My grandma, she never disappointed me. Not once. And I think that there was probably things that I may have done that would have deserved being disappointed in, but she never was. She was very proud of all of us. If we needed anything, she would never bat an eye, she just was there. She gave my mom wonderful curly hair, and I don't have it worn today, but I have the same hair. And when I was a kid, I hated it. I didn't like it at all. It was hard to manage, and I thought it didn't look right, but now when I wear my curly hair, I don't just think of my mom, I think of my grandma. I think, man, how lucky am I that she gave me this. When I started making music, I figured my grandma, being the classic English lady that she is, would maybe not approve of what I think will be my career choice, but word for word, telling my grandma, hey grandma, I made a big long speech. I was trying to be very convincing. You know, I think I'll do it this way, and you know, I really believe in it, grandma. And she sat there for a second, and then she looked at me and she said, well, it's about time. And I thought, what did she, did you hear everything I said? Like, I'm doing music, and she said, yeah, no, I think that you should have done this a long time ago. And it made me feel, even though my parents supported me, and my siblings, and the very few friends that I have supporting me, having my grandma support me made me think, man, you know, even if I don't make a single dollar or anything comes of it, I'm really just excited that my grandma was excited for me and believed in me. It doesn't matter what I did. She believed in me, thought I could do it to the best of my ability. And she was always a cheerleader. You know, even if she didn't fully agree with everything that I was doing or whatever, she still had my back. And if I needed advice, things I couldn't tell my parents, I could go to my grandma. She had a way of relating to me that, I don't know why, it would take me off guard sometimes, but she just always had a way of saying the perfect thing, or, you know, kind of like how my sister said, if I would go to my grandma and I'd be mad about something, And if it was somebody or something pissed me off, my grandma was right there pissed off with me, and she meant it. And you know, I unfortunately didn't get my grandpa for as many years. Sorry. But I think losing my grandpa made me realize with my grandma how much I only have one of these in my life. My dad's mom passed before I was born, so I never got to meet her. So my grandma was like the grandma, you know? She did all the grandma things with us from being very little, whether it was crafts or whatever. You know, she was always there with us, puzzles, all of it. And even the nice things. My grandma was also there for really hard things. I remember a very kind of tough memory for me, but I went through a breakup and my parents picked me up right after, when I was, I don't know, like 18 or something. And my parents were in the front seat. Dad was driving, Mom was in the front seat, Grandma's in the back, and I just got in the back seat and I just cried. And my grandma held me, and through me sobbing, I felt her cry. And she just loved you so much. She hated to see you sad. And when I cried, she cried. And I thought, man, how lucky am I that somebody not just loves me so much, but feels for me so much that she is there right in that emotion with me. She didn't let me be alone in that. She was so special. Being away from Grandma and Grandpa and you guys, you know, has definitely been tough. There's so many times I felt like, you know, man, my cousins get my grandma all the time, and I get grandma sometimes. But in reality, that wasn't true. I did get her all the time, you know, phone calls or whatever, which became more frequent as I got older. You go through certain things, I think, as a young person that start to make you realize very important things. And I think the relationships you have with your family are the most precious. And I think the ones that deserve the most celebrating. And if anyone deserves being celebrated, it's my grandma. So coming here, obviously I wish this was a wedding or a birthday, but at the same time, I'm also really proud because we're here celebrating my grandma with different stories, different friends. You know, if anybody has any little things that, you know, you want to share to us at any point, I mean, any little bit of my grandma that, you know, I may not have gotten, I may get from you guys. You know, having you guys tell me that my grandma shared my music with some of you, that was really cool to me. Made me feel proud that she was proud of me sharing those things. So I'm gonna read some of my things that I wrote now. Forgive me if I'm emotional during some of it, but I'll try my best. Whether you were a coworker, a neighbor, a friend, or family, I'm sure we can all agree that she was truly one of one. My grandma was the best kind of friend you could ask for. She's the type of friend you could laugh with till your belly hurt. She's the friend who would cry with you. She's a friend that would always have your back. When you were venting about something or someone who pissed you off, she had tons of choice words to say. She was the kind of friend that did things out of the kindness of her heart. But for my sister and my cousins and myself, we got that best friend, but with some added perks. That meant bedtime stories, and rubbing our backs till we fell asleep. Doing puzzles with us and making sure that we always had enough to eat. I rhymed during some of this, I didn't mean to. It meant cuddles in movies, handmade gifts and little nicknames. It meant photographs and puzzles and song-filled road trips and lots of tea and biscuits. Being the oldest of the grandkids, I got my grandma the longest. And for that I'm grateful. But because of distance, I'd say my cousins got her a little bit more. I'm so jealous, but I'm also so happy that you got to share those moments with both Grandma and Grandpa. I wouldn't change it for anything. I know they will cherish their moments as much as my sister and I will cherish mine. Ours. One of my favorite things was making my grandma laugh. If you knew my grandma, you know she has the best laugh ever. My grandma was literally one of the funniest people I've ever known, so making my grandma laugh felt like a pretty big deal to me and always made me feel pretty proud. Any day I could make my grandma laugh was a pretty good day. I thought, if she thought I was funny, I must be funny. I lived in Alberta pretty much my entire life with my family, so we were always further away from my grandparents. As I got older, I really started to appreciate certain things in my life, family being the top of the list. I made sure to call my grandma and FaceTime her as often as possible so we could keep up with each other. Sometimes we would be on the phone for literally hours. We'd be talking, venting, laughing, occasionally crying. She never made me feel as though I couldn't talk to her about anything, literally anything. And people who know me, sometimes I overshare. So, she does. My grandma was always a safe space. She always made me feel heard. She always made me feel validated. And she always made me feel loved. My grandma's love was as pure and sweet as her humor was funny. My grandma was also herself through and through. She was never a fake version of herself. What you saw is what you got, and that was the best. It makes me so proud knowing that I had a grandma like you. There will never be another like you. It leaves a hole in my heart having you leave so soon. But Grandma, I hope you know I couldn't be more proud. Thank you for my curly hair. Thank you for teaching me so much. Thank you for being a fantastic person, an incredible friend. Thank you for being an amazing mother to my mom and to my auntie. And without a doubt, thank you for being an irreplaceable grandma. And I wrote a poem for my grandma. It's called Tea. It's on days like this, when the wind is calm and the sun is peeking through the windows glistening. The carpet in the living room feels warm, and there's some tea brewing in the kitchen. It's on days like this, where the smell of fresh laundry peeks around every corner, and the patio furniture is set up in the yard. When I find little handwritten notes or lists, or my mind is off wandering a little too far. It's on days like this, where the last 30 minutes of a drive feels like the perfect time for a phone call. And I'm driving down your road I've been down a million times before. Minutes or years may have passed, yet it welcomes me as always, the same way that you did, just like every time before. It's on days like this, when I hear a certain burst of laughter, or I see an eye roll or two, I could trust that there was always some perfect joke and a bit of sarcasm that would follow, but also an I love you too. It's on days like this when I see a shiny pair of hairdressing scissors, or see a perfect grapefruit that would have been shared in a bowl, singing a song about Camp Granada, and talking about how one day I'll grow old. I guess I have grown older a bit, and maybe so have you. But I know you'll visit me in these moments, whether it be obvious or untrue. Now I know you may feel far at times, but I must remember the promise that I made. To love another as special as you is one that I'd never let fade. It knows no boundaries or language, but believe me, I'd recognize it anywhere. For the love that came from someone like you, Grandma, is one even heaven can spare. So for now, in the moments where I feel lost, I'll put my faith in tea, and when I sit at my table, sipping a cup at night, wearing wings, I know you'll be there, sharing one with me. Thank you, Grandma, for all the things that you did, all the things that I saw, all the blessings you gave me that I noticed. And thank you for all the ones I didn't say, all the ones I never knew you did, all the fixing of my bed sheets when I didn't make it perfectly, or, leaving a little something behind. Thank you for supporting me no matter how big my dreams were. And some of them are pretty big. I love you forever and always, Grandma, to the moon and back again. The reunion will be amazing. I love you very much. Thank you.
Kenzie, Olivia, thank you. That was a really beautiful gift. I'm going to invite Sarah and Dawn to come and share some thoughts.
Wow. What a legacy. Look at those beautiful children. Devin, Morgan, Kenzie, Olivia. My goodness, I'm so proud. I mean, she definitely was what the kids said she was. One of the things that always stood out with me and Mom is that she'd let you know, and she would. She never mind putting, if you needed putting in your place, she'd let you know. And she had another soft, incredibly soft side that she would also back that up with affection, and I think that's where the kids have literally. I know that a lot of people come, they listen to things and they go, best friend. Not with those kids. That lady was their best friend. I know my wife's, my sister-in-law, I know that Darren and I, we've been very lucky to have had such a wonderful mother-in-law. She's, I've told my wife, I pictured this because out of all of this, sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. But I did kind of feel that hand coming through the clouds from Phil, and I think she just went, yeah, I'm doing it. So I know she also spoke about her friends a lot. clearly she had lots of them. And I know there were some people that couldn't make it. Obviously lots of family in England that couldn't make it. But she was a wonderful person. She really was. She was warm and, like the girl said, she had great wit. And if you're not English, there is some sayings. I remember her saying one time, summit. I'm like, oh, summit. She meant something, you know. And you just had to listen for it, you know. Anyway, we will miss you, Mom, for sure. We will never forget. And I know that this family that we have here will not let her down. We will make sure that her legacy lives on.
You're all good till you get up here. You're like, how do I follow that? And how do I follow that? So, Mom liked and loved her own space. And today, seeing all of you guys here, she would think that she was being a pure burden to everybody. She got very flustered when anybody made a fuss out of her. And she hated being the center of attention. It's not something that she ever liked. But the attention she's getting today is a pure testament to who she was to everybody here. We have a few video cases here. And she could pull quotes from planes, trains, and automobiles, like out of anywhere. And it would fit into any situation. It didn't matter whether you were crying or laughing or whatever, it was, she could pull it out of there, right? And Thelma and Louise, right? I am funny. I'm real funny. Some of the text messages she would send me over the years, like she would literally have me busting a gut, laughing out loud. Nobody else knew what I was laughing at because her texts were so exactly how she would say it. And when Cal brought up the FFS, for the record, the first time my mom sent me FFS, I was like, what's that mean? I'm like, Mom, what's FFS? And she typed it. And I was like, right, jeez. Right? So she taught me that one for everybody. I'm going to tell kind of stories again. They're a little bit like stories maybe that have already been told, but I remember talking to Mom on the phone, and because we spent more probably time talking on the phone than we were probably face to face, because like you guys know, we were a long way away, but I would call and I would like start a story and I would start to laugh at myself because the story was funny, and I couldn't even get the story out because the story was funny. And she had no idea what the hell I was laughing about, but she would just laugh anyway, and she would just be busting a gut on the other end of the phone, just killing herself laughing, and then I'd laugh more, and then nose would be running and all kind of stuff. And anyway, by the time you get to the punchline, it's not even funny anymore. But, she would right alongside you. She was amazing that way. We did that so many times. I genuinely don't think she had any clue of how many people's lives she touched. She'd go the extra mile for everybody. She'd often go the extra mile for people who probably didn't deserve it, but she definitely went to the moon and back for those she believed she did, that they did. I talked to my girlfriend Claire, my oldest friend in the UK, and she told me a story that I don't remember from us being little kids, and she told me this like the moment I told her my mom had gone, and she said that, your mom was the very first person to make me feel special. And I was like, why? She said, because she gave me 50 pence as kids, so that she could go to the shops with me.
my mom gave her 50 pence so she could come to the shops with me. And we would go and we would buy a bag of crisps and a chocolate bar and a pop. And for somebody to remember that from that long ago is when she started touching people. And even before I was born, she obviously touched people. And she's still touching people. She was always so thoughtful. Her gifts were always so thought about. I remember when the year 2000, when the year 2000 turned, she bought something special from the post office, and I don't even remember what it was. And she threw it in the mail on the first of, the year 2000. So it had a stamp on there that said 1/1/2000. And it came to my house. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I don't even know what it is. And, open it, great. Threw the envelope away. And after I talked to her, I said to Mom, thanks for the gift, it's lovely. She goes, you know I sent it, don't you? And I'm like, no. Shit. And she goes, well, you kept the envelope, didn't you? And I'm like, oh dear. I did something wrong. But in her mind, she was always calculating really sentimental, wonderful gifts, right? Like she thought about it. Mm. She put so much thought into her presents. Like she would wrap things twice. She would wrap them in tissue paper, and then she would wrap them in paper. So it was like pleasure opening Mom's present. She could open them one, and then you got to do it again, right? So she took so much time doing those things. And her thought process in gifts were kind of amazing. Like my mom and dad, I'm shaking, I'm sorry. My dad, in fact, collected this jar of 6-pence pieces for reasons unknown, but I think they were going out of circulation. My dad would find one and put it in a jar. Well, recently, because Dad would always, since Dad's been gone, he would send me dimes. He said, Lucy, dimes. I find them in the most random places. That can't be just because somebody dropped them out of their pocket. This is because my dad put them there. Anyway, this has been an ongoing thing. I would send Mom pictures of dimes in my hand or whatever. And anyway, she sent me recently, or us, I should say, a piece of paper from a notepad. And she said, these were your dad's 6-pence pieces. I found one for you and you two girls. This one and this one is from the year your dad was born. And she dug 2 more out with the year these guys' dads were born, 1960. She thought about it. A gift she gave was not just going to the store and buying something just because. Mom never did that. Even when we went back to the house just recently, my birthday card was there. Your birthday card was there. The welcome to your new home for Olivia was there. Like she thought about things ahead. She really, really genuinely cared. She always made sense. And she was usually right about most things. And you always see the sensible side of things. Her loyalty, her tenacity, her kindness made every single person she came into contact feel important. Her quietness, her ability to completely block out everything when her nose was in a book. Mom. Okay. Mom. Okay. Mom, what? As though you just said it for the first time. Where she was focused. When I talk about dimes and Dad dropping dimes for me and Lucy, I keep thinking, how am I going to know? How am I going to know when she's here? Because Mom thought that once you're gone from here, you're gone. That there wasn't anything else. She said it to me so many times. But the day she left, and as far away as I was, she touched me. I know she did. I felt her touch me. And I didn't even know what it was for then. But that was her say goodbye. So I'm not sure if she'll let me know she's still here. Because I'm pretty sure she was wrong about there's nothing else. Because if she would have been right, she wouldn't have come and touched me. And we shared a love of birds. And I'm pretty sure that every bird I see from here on in is going to be. She was always there for me. She was the one person who would regularly pop in and say, "You okay, daughter?" 3 question marks. She was my strength when I needed it, and she was always there. I very rarely ever phoned my mom or texted her, but she didn't answer my phone. She always used to say to me, "You have a heart of a lion." Well, I got it from you. She always smelled like fresh laundry. And I'm not ready. I'm gonna miss the heck out of you. Love you, Mom.
Wow. What do you say? I don't want to talk long, but I want to talk a little bit. Mum was born in Rotherham, which is up north in England in Yorkshire country. And if you know anything about Yorkshire people, your yes is yes and your no is no. And if they like you for life. And if they don't, well, they don't. They are the most wonderful people in England. I love them to bits. Her dad was a piano player. Her dad, Ron, loved music. And there's wonderful memories of Mom, her dad, Sarah and Lucy in the car with Grandpa singing songs. Sunshine Corner. Her mom, Irene, was a lovely lady, and they were a family that cared about each other. Her big sister, Julie, they remember the transition after the war. And Mom was went through school, and at 14 she decided to go into the hairdressing vocation, and she was getting trained for that. There was a big trip to Spain. But her world started to change when her big sister was dating a young fella named Roy. And Roy was nice enough, but he had a brother named Phil. And Phil was quite a character. He was an incredibly hard worker, a very skilled welder. And as he started to meet Stephanie, he realized this is a catch. And there was the big group dates, and then the group dates started to become kind of double dates, and they had this mutual love of dancing and jive dancing. And what a wonderful gift that their romance was a dance for their life together. At 21 and 22, they got married. Mom looked spectacular in a miniskirt. And they felt like they lived in a palace in their first little semi-detached house in Handsworth. Soon they were given the gift of 2 beautiful little girls that Mom just thought could not be any more wonderful. And Sarah and Lucy came into the world. The world started to change in the late 1970s and early 80s with an economic depression, and Dad started saying stuff that Mom wasn't thrilled about. There's work in Canada. There's jobs in Canada. And for a Yorkshire girl, there were people of the land. I don't want to leave my land. I don't want to leave my people. I don't want to leave my family. But Dad said there's a better life for our kids. And if you wanted to get into Stephanie's heart, you do it through her children and her grandchildren. She wasn't overly thrilled when Phil left because he went over on his own, and it couldn't have been very fun as he had to stay in Gulliver's Travels Motel. But he was who he was. He worked and he worked, and he would call and he'd say, "You wouldn't believe how high the snow is. It's going up through the trees." And later that year, in April of 1982, Mom, Sarah, and Lucy came. Dad took them up to Niagara Falls, which was still frozen in April. They got a little apartment on King Street, and you still remember the smell of that place. And it was hard when you had to leave everything behind and find a new life here. But they did it for their girls. They did it for their family. It was hard work, long hours. Soon they got a home on Elm Street, and then they got their family home at 54 First Street North. Dad got into boats, and soon he had a boat, and of course he called it Sarah Lou. Wonderful adventures on Georgian Bay, up in Penetanguishing in Midland, being with his family, campfires, sing-songs, water skiing, tubing, fishing, enjoying life with their girls outside, being together. And then one of the greatest moments in Mom and Dad's life was when they found out they were going to be grandparents. For those of you who knew Steph and Phil at that time, you remember how excited they were. You remember the joy that they had. And were there ever more loved grandchildren than you four? It got a little scary when Grandpa got the stern voice. As long as Grandma were around, you were safe. But what a wonderful, wonderful gift to be with Grandma and Grandpa. For Devin and Morgan, they have those wonderful memories of sleepovers, where you'd head over to Grandma and Grandpa's house on Friday, and she would make that wonderful homemade fish and chips that nobody could make like her. And then you were off to watch a movie, sometimes an adventure, sometimes a comedy, and Grandma let you stay up late. The next morning it was bacon and eggs and chips and fried bread, and what a wonderful time. And sometimes Grandpa would take you to the shop and you got to play with stuff you weren't supposed to. And in the afternoon, it was more fun. They would take you to the Mandarin, they would take you to Kelsey's or Jack Astor's or Wendy's, and it was home again for more movies. What a gift you two had. And what a wonderful gift for Grandma when her girls would call. And Olivia and Mackenzie would call, and she would hear from her grandchildren and just what they were doing. And I love how you put it. You might have been physically far, but you were close by. And what I would like to talk about now is 3 gifts that your mom, your grandma, and our friend gave us. The first to me is her incredible strength and fortitude. I appreciate how you said it, Lucy. She was small but mighty. You didn't mess with her. You didn't mess with her. And it didn't matter how many bags of leaves she put out, she still had room and strength to do more. It didn't matter how much snow came, she would not let it defeat her. And that's how she faced life. She was resilient. And she learned resiliency from her family. It was in her genetics in the North. You make the best of things. Your yes is yes, even if it's difficult. And if you say no, don't make me say no again. She was a lady that could take on anything. And one of her biggest fears that she faced straight up was coming to Canada. You're 8-9 hours away by plane. And then you're even farther to get up to the north. And when they came, the communication like we have now, it wasn't nearly as easy or as good. And with the time difference, it was even harder. And imagine coming, you know your husband is who he is, and he's going to be working day and night, because that's what he does. You're going to be alone a lot. No wonder she struggled with it. She missed her family. But she carried on because of her family, because of her girls. She agreed with Phil eventually that this was the right thing to do, to be here. Friends, she taught you resilience. Whatever you go through in life, you can get through. It was devastating when she lost her husband, who she loved and adored. And when Dawn would say, you know, you're fit, you're young, you're good looking, and she would say, no, not interested in another man. She didn't need him. She was happy with her own company. She was happy with the connection she had with her girls who she loved, her grandchildren whom she loved. Friends, there's nothing you can't go through that you can't rely on the strength of your grandma. Whenever you are facing the hardest things in life, you remember that lady who thought the best of you all the time, no matter what crap you got into. Her strength will see you through. Her resiliency is in your DNA, is in your body. You can get through anything. That's part of her legacy. The next gift is something that many of you have experienced. It's the gift of her unconditional love and her just being there. Few of us have been blessed with a mom and a grandma like that lady, who loved you unconditionally, who loved you on the good days and loved you on the bad days. A lady who had incredible strength of character and a great capacity to love. Even when people were jerks, she chose kindness. She chose to honor people. And she didn't just love you when it was convenient. She was there for you when you needed her. It could be in a different time zone in the middle of the night. But if you were broken and you were hurting and you were hers, she was available. She was that mom that said, you can call me any hour. And if you got to do something with those husbands, I'm in. But she was the lady that let you know she loved you. She was that grandmother you had constant access to. Can you imagine the envy of her grandson's friends? That you can go to your grandma anytime and she'll feed you, yes. You can go to your grandma's time anytime and she's happy to see you, yes. So your grandma loves you no matter what, even with your jerks, yes. You guys were the envy of your friends. Can you imagine what it was like to be Olivia or Mackenzie and you say, I can call my grandma anytime and talk to her as long as I want. And they go, really? You can't? Yep. I can talk to my grandma all the way from Texas to Calgary if my world's falling apart. I can call my grandma in the middle of the night and talk to her and let her know what's going on, and she doesn't not get back to me. Some of us have people who, when they see us and our ID comes up on the phone, they take a pass. Grandma never did that. In fact, she was the opposite. Phone rang, she was like, I wonder which one of them it is. And disappointed when it wasn't one of you. Her unconditional love didn't depend on your behavior. It depended on her love, which was constant. How much did she love it when you'd call her on the phone? Talk to her about the latest calamity or the latest thing one of your kids did or your husband did. How funny were her text messages when you get a running monologue, and often it was FFS. How fun was it to talk to her over FaceTime, and you're trying desperately to get her to stop laughing so you could tell the story, but she can't stop laughing because she's laughing at you laughing, and you forget what the story is. What a wonderful gift. What a wonderful thing to know that her capacity to love you had no limits. That when your heart was breaking, hers heart broke with you. When you were having the best day ever, she celebrated that joy. She was your safe place. The person who honored who you were as a person, who wanted you to be who you were, who of course said to Mackenzie, well, it's about time you did that music thing. Because she saw you for who you were, a gift, a wonder, a joy. Love well. Love like her. Love others like that. And the last gift is the most evident gift, is that incredible love she had for her family. You never had to talk to Stephanie for too long and the family would come up. One of the girls, one of the son-in-law, definitely the grandkids. Because you were her pride and joy and delight in her life. It couldn't have been easy being married to your dad because he worked so hard and he was so dedicated to his job to provide for his family. It's hard when you love somebody and they love their family so much that they put themselves through incredible long hours. And that was hard for Mom, I think, sometimes. Because Dad worked long, long hours. And he had that capacity to have a nap anywhere. I remember the day where he was working under the car and poor Mom thought, oh, something's happened, he's having a nap. But that's what happens when you work that hard. Your body falls asleep. And for Mom coming to Canada, it was heartache, but she did it because she loved her family. She loved her husband and wanted to see him happy, but she loved her girls and wanted to see them happy. And what a wonderful gift to be a child who grows up in a home, as Lucy and Sarah were, where Mom loves Dad and Dad loves Mom, and they love you. Can you imagine how fun it was to be them, watching their Mom and Dad jive dance together? And maybe it was a little gross sometimes when they did the kissy thing, but what security. what peace that gave you, that my mom loves my dad and my dad loves my mom. And then the incredible joy when you got married, when I got to be there at your wedding, and then you started giving them grandchildren, and she had more to love. And I appreciate, Don, when you said, you know, I think what I got from Mom was that she was the steward of our family. She was the guardian of the family. And she just lived that love for her family. Don says we got off to a bit of a rough start. It was a bit of a love-hate. But she slowly warmed up to me as she realized how much I loved her girl. And that rough start disappeared. And we got through a lot of things together. And she always remained Mom. I saw in her a selfless person, a giving person. And I did not realize till recently the power of connection that Mom had with my daughters. It was so much greater than I thought. And Mom lived out, and she modeled for me and taught me it's always family first. For Mackenzie, she says, you know, when I was a little girl, I remember being in the yard with Grandma. I remember her coming to our place in Calgary and swimming in the pool, and her reading books to Mackenzie, to myself and Olivia, and then we'd start falling asleep and we'd wake up and she did that little shoulder rub and sing us to sleep with songs. And the day when she caught me doing something and she said my full name, and Mackenzie was a little afraid, and Grandma said, "Did you do this?" And you confessed, and she said, "Come here, give me your leg." And she did that little whackety whackety thing. She just loved you. She was a lady that cried when you cried, was full of joy when you were full of joy. For Olivia, she said, you know, the wonderful thing about Grandma and Grandpa, they were so English, they had their rules. And even though Grandpa could have that stern voice, Grandma looked after it. She just loved us so much, and I don't even think she could get mad at us. And I appreciate, Olivia, when you said Grandma was the friend. She was the friend you needed. She was that safe place, that person you could tell anything to. You didn't have to go into details, she just got it. And one of the more difficult times in your life, she talked to you for hours and hours to get you from Texas back home. And I love how you said, even though when you're far away, you're near. And what a wonderful gift for Lucy, that Mom was loyal to a fault. She gave the best hugs. She was that voice of reason when life started going sideways. The wonderful gift when she would just call and say, "Stop by. I thought of you and I've made something." Those road trips together. And for Devin and Morgan, how wonderful was it when you got to go to the trailer, when you got to have the sleepovers, tea and biscuits. And not only did she mean everything to you, but you two meant everything to her. What a wonderful gift. And for Sarah, Mom wasn't thrilled with coming to Canada, but she did it. Mom had that wonderful sense of sarcasm, and her humor was on point. And Mom loved to hear the calamity of my life. And the day you laughed so hard when she asked with great honesty, "How is Don's conch?" Meaning his very sore nose. When she made an incredibly offside comment and then said, "I'll never go to heaven." Living out a life of love and giving. So friends, when we have Mom moments, you've had for the last week, and you're going to have Steph moments for the rest of your life. You're going to remember her ability to see the humor in anything. You're going to remember her sarcastic times and the faces she would make. The way she would look at her grandsons and say, "You can always go off someone, you know." Or when they were being particularly more annoying, "I'll cut you out of my will." And then a few days later, "I'll let you back in." And when she made a particularly offside comment, she would look at you with that smile and say, "Not that there's anything wrong with that." Mom dancing with that. Mom's face lighting up. when you called her on FaceTime, when you came in the house, when you sat and had tea and biscuits with her. Friends, when these moments come, embrace them. Hold them close. Process them and say, what is the gift of my mom, my grandma, my friend, my neighbor? What is the gift of that moment? Is it her humor? Is it her kindness? Is it her compassion? Is it her ability to just listen to what was happening and let you be you and give you that safe space? And when you process the gift of that moment, may I encourage you to take a moment and just say thanks. And then I would ask you to do something very kind. I'd like you to call Lucy. I'd like you to call Sarah. I'd like you to call the grandchildren and say, I was thinking about your mom. I was thinking about your grandma today. Will you make them cry? Oh, yeah. Will you make them laugh? Definitely. Because you'll tell them something goofy about their mom. And when you hear people tell stories about a person who was your whole world, how does it not make you cry? And how does it not make you laugh? But how does it not comfort your heart to think, they remember her. They're thinking about her. And not just in the next couple of months, do it in the next few years. Remind them of this wonderful lady, how she came into your life. And as you tell Sarah and Lucy, that they get to tell the grandkids and they get to pass the stories on. We need to hear her stories. Some people live the way you're supposed to live. Some people do the good before them. Mom was one of those people. I happen to think there is something after this life. And to me, it's not that complicated to do that, get to that somewhere after place. Jesus says it's about loving people. It's about caring for people. It's giving people cups of cold water who are thirsty. It's bringing a meal to someone who's going through something rough. It's saying, I have an extra coat, you can have it. It's taking care of a neighbor who's not doing too well. I'll live that out. So friends, you've had this wonderful example of love and kindness and humor. And I love how Dawn said, a steward of your family, a guardian of your family. So I would ask you to take up that challenge. Guard your families, protect your families, love your families. Think the best of your family. And although Mom was sweet and kind, you messed with her family, you messed with the bear. So I'm going to end with a prayer. But I'm going to take a little privilege today, and I'm going to bless you on behalf of Stephanie. May you know great love with the love of your life. May you dance with your partner through life. May you see your children grow up into wonderful people. May you see their children grow up into wonderful people. And may they bless your life with their phone calls, their visits, their FaceTimes. And may you see them thrive and do well. May you know friends far and near and stay connected with them. May you know good neighbors and be a good neighbor. May you know the love of a good person. And may you see your family thrive in a new place. So friends, I bless you now with great joy and great love. And I bless you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Friends, thanks for being here. The family will be around for a little bit, but they're exhausted. But if there's a story that you're just itching to tell the grandkids, they got a few moments to hear that. But otherwise, thank you for being here. God bless.